evening. Yes, it is Thursday. It is 8 o'clock. I'm Vladimir McTAVIsh.
And I am J. SODAGAR Khan. That's who I am.
Exactly. And this is the Thursday Show.
The Thursday Show. Bless.
Yes.
And look at this.
With Jay and without Dave Chawner. He's not here. He's not here. He's not even there. Yes. Here we are. Well, how many weeks have we been doing this, Jay? Something like 25, 26?
We've been doing this 6 months now. 6 months.
6 months. Since November the 12th, our first show. Last week, our first week off, because we our producer was doing a corporate and wasn't able to be here and run the ship. And after 1 week off, after 6 months, Dave Chawner forgot about the show. Well, that's how much we fucking mean to him.
So in honor of Dave Chawner, we just forgot about him as well. So we just put this guy. Look, he's like, you know, when you go to a used car showroom, you get that like wavy.
Yeah.
That is what this looks like right now. There you go. If you want to buy a Daihatsu for about 50p, there you go. That's the man.
That's brilliant. It actually looks like you've got a little kind of puppet of him, and you've got your hand up the back of it, and you're waving it around.
Yeah, now, Dave, this is why it's brown. This is why it's brown.
Dave has got a more well-paid gig than this one. That is the story of what's happening. Well, I don't know. That could be the story. So the story is given us. We don't need him. We don't need him. There's two of us.
We've never needed him. We've never needed him. LJ didn't need him either.
No. We've got a packed show tonight, haven't we, Jay? We've got two fantastic guests, and obviously it's a significant, important night. We'll talk about all that later. But we've had 2 weeks off, mate. How have you been since I last saw you?
I've been good. I've had a haircut. I've had my second jab. Yes. And I feel radioactive right now. I do. I really do. It's been lovely. There's obviously this tonight is election specials, and we've got all sorts of things. We've got living down here near London. It's like we've got all the London mayoral elections. You suddenly realise in politics, no politician actually is worth their salt. I think the old days of like the NHS and like the world wars, those days where politics actually mattered. I grew up during the 80s where Thatcher just deconstructed it all and just threw it all to private sector. So now politicians really don't mean anything. They genuinely don't. And anyone who kind of stands on a ticket, like the London mayoral elections, like for example, we've got Count Binface, right? That's a thing, right? That's a thing. It's current like modern day situations that we've actually got a YouTuber, a 23-year-old in his nappies YouTuber standing for the mayor of London, right? We've got some posh bloke whose only ticket is that like he doesn't even want to win, but just because he's posh, he had to put. He's put thousands of pounds into his campaign, and he doesn't want to be elected. That's what doing a fringe show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival feels like. And this guy wanted to just do it just on May on Thursday. Bless him. There's been all sorts of things.
Actually stand for election like the Edinburgh Fringe and give your manifesto and then just stand with a bucket and ask people to put the ballot papers into the bucket. That way.
He would get more votes. I'd vote for him. I'd vote for him.
Yeah.
Yes. How have you been?
I've been good. Last week, I went to the pub. That's what I did last week. Thank you very much for my night off. It was fab. Went to a pub on Elm Row and Leith Walk, and it was a normal late April evening in Scotland, and it was a bit chilly, but at least it was sunny, and then it started pissing with rain. Only half an hour, but it's like when you're sitting outside in the pissing rain, and then you don't get dry. And by the end of the night, my teeth are chattering. I thought.
I went to the pub. I went to the pub on Tuesday, and the whole beer garden was empty, and it was because of the weather. And I sat there and I thought, that's why we had this booking. Okay, nobody else wanted to sit outside and have a beer. But fair enough, we went there, did what the locals did and had a fight and then left. There you go.
Yeah, talking about going to the pub, this show and the money we make from it is not enough to get a pint of beer. But if any of you out there want to contribute the price of a pint of beer, please donate. And it won't go on beer. It will go on all the technical stuff that we need to make this show as slick and professional as it is. And let's face it, this week, I think it's been the slickest, most professional one we've had for 6 months. And I wonder why that is, Jay.
Yes.
And yet, we've probably seen more of him tonight than we do when he's actually nominally hosting the show.
Question.
Yes. We've haircuts.
Yes.
Well done, Jay. Yes. Oh, yes, haircut or hair loss. Wow. Yeah. Mine is actually haircut. I can't speak for my co-host. He's a bit of both. Yeah, a bit of both.
It's the wind. It's the wind. It just blew it away. That's all it is. That's all it is. I purposely do this look just so I look a little bit more distinguished and get those other gigs that more distinguished people get, like yourself, Vlad.
Well, the thing with me is, Jay, I gave up attempting to look distinguished about 10 years ago. I got to 50 and I thought I should look distinguished by now, and it ain't happening. So I just try and look fucking stupid.
I'm trying to go for the Sadiq Khan look, obviously. That was my daughter there. There you go. There you go. Come say hello.
Oh, we got Blackheart.
There you go. There you go. There you go. She's standing for the London mayoral elections. And so I voted for her. There you go.
Yeah, but it is good to see things kind of very, very gradually getting out. We are gradually getting to the end of this. And I kind of feel we've almost come through this pandemic and found ourselves living in some kind of bizarre parallel universe where Dominic Cummings preaches about honesty, integrity, and ethics. in much the same way as Amanda Holden judges talent. Yes, had the whole cash for curtains scandal.
Yes.
Since we're last year, and personally, I have actually set up a crowdfunding page. I think it's very important. I set up a crowdfunding page to pay for Boris Johnson's personal flat to be refurbished using the same cladding as Grenfell Tower.
Yes.
Yes. We've made £5 million in the first half hour. Right. Also, I mean, we've had the utterly appalling comments he was reported to have made that everyone kind of thinks, oh, did he say that? Of course he fucking said it. Everyone knows my life. Say, he'd rather let the bodies pile high than call the second lockdown, is what he's reported to have said. And you think about it, well, the reason to not have a second lockdown was presumably to keep the economy working. I'm not sure having bodies piling high is the best way to kickstart the economy. I mean, you're hardly going to be happy. So, well, you know what? We can still go to the pub if you can climb over all the corpses outside the beer garden.
He's boosting that funeral director's circuit. Is what he's doing. He's boosting their economy.
Oh, Primark's open. Well, wait a minute. There's a couple of corpses in the way. And I don't want to belittle the impact that the lockdown has had on people's mental health. If you've been in your flat for 6 months and you're suffering from severe depression, if you look outside and see a pile of dead bodies in the street, that's not really going to do a great deal of good either, is it? But thankfully, he's not standing for election. or maybe it'd be quite good if he was, because this is the thing, I will come back to this like a broken record. I don't think Boris Johnson should have called that election last year anyway, or 2019. I think instead of having that general election in 2019, we should have had a second referendum in Europe. And I know it sounds I'm just going over old stuff again, but the reason I'm so intent on that should have been the case was he said he would rather die in a ditch than delay Brexit. And I think that should actually have been the question in the ballot paper. But yeah, it is election night, like you're saying, Jay, and all over the UK, in Wales, in Scotland, and of course in London. And you were saying that there are some joke candidates standing down in the capital, and we've got a picture of one of the joke candidates here. Well, we should have. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the joke candidate there on the left. He's the one on the left, the joke candidate. Not Count Babyface, I think he's a serious political character. No, Lawrence Fox. Standing up for the rights of overprivileged white people to be mayor of London. Totally
my hero.
That London has already had, from 2008 to 2016, a mayor who stood up for the rights of overprivileged white people. We've got election night, could be a crucial election here in Scotland. Apart from the major parties, the SNP, the Tories, the Labour, the Greens, and the Lib Dems, there's a multiplicity of small parties. There's Alex Salmond's Alba Party. There is UKIP. Remember them? They still are standing. There's the Scottish Family Party, who are opposed to abortion. They are opposed to euthanasia. They want to stop euthanasia, despite the fact it hasn't happened yet. They want to repeal a law that's not in the statute book. We've got the Freedom Alliance, who want to end the law. Well, the Freedom Alliance, who basically want the bodies to pile up the street. And some crazy fringe parties standing in the regional list. We have one is All for Unity. Couldn't quite get my lips around that one. All for Unity. That is a party which is All for Unity because it's got one member. And that one member happens to be, yes, no one but the one and only George Galloway. There he is. You won't give up. George Galloway never ceases to disappoint. As soon as he's started a party and everyone else has kicked him out of it, he goes and starts another. He's had a checkered and interesting and varied political career. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But I think what everyone across the country will remember him for is nothing he's done politically. They won't remember him giving evidence to the US Senate. They won't remember him standing in God knows how many by-elections as a candidate for a one-person party he'd invented just for that by-election. Now, what everyone is going to remember George Galloway for is for his cringe-worthy moment on TV, his 15 minutes of fame. And oh God, this is so horrific. We have to watch it yet again.
Now, would you like me to be the cat?
This was a completely innocent improvisation about a human being communicating in human animal language with a cat who wasn't eating its food. More tickles on the back, yes. So I talked to him in cat language and he responded in a catty nature of some sort.
Pussycat.
It was just disgusting. It just gave me the creeps. It was just like a shiver all down me. It was gross.
Good pussycat. Good pussycat.
I honestly felt physically ill.
Yes. No better way of summing up, really, is there? No, it wasn't a very good improvisation of a cat. He didn't lick his own cock once. That's the first for George Galloway, I can tell you that. Anyway, we have got a packed show tonight, haven't we, Jay? We've got two.
We do have a packed show. Yeah, I'm
marvelous Jojo Sutherland, and we have before that the wonderful Anna Morris. So, Jay, it's over to you, I think.
Yes, no, this gives me huge pleasure to introduce a video for our very first guest. Please watch, love it, and stick for the interview. It's amazing. She's an amazing lady. So give it up for the one and the only Anna Morris.
What? I can go back to work. I can get up an hour earlier again and try and get a shower and try and get dressed and try and get makeup on all before I leave the house at 7:45 so I don't miss the train. And I can wait at the train station and inevitably go into the coffee shop because they're £3 a latte that I can't afford and get bullied into having a pastry because I haven't had time to have my coffee or my breakfast at home. I get to go back into a really packed train full of commuters with coughing and sneezing and have no idea what social distancing means. I sit at my desk again which faces the wall. I can make small talk again with colleagues in meetings about how my weekend was and how amazing their children are. I won't have to have the radio on anymore. I can just listen to my colleagues eat crisps really loudly. There'll be other people in the kitchen again. There'll be microwaving food like fish. I won't have to make lunch in the comfort of my own home again. Instead I'll realise I've forgotten my lunch. I have to go and spend £8 on a baguette and a can of Coke. Start staying late again because I'm trying to compete with everyone in the office. I can commute again at the end of the day, spend an hour and a half to get back because the trains will delay. I can get home really late in the middle of having to frost anything dinner and have beans on toast again. And go to bed by 10 o'clock because I'm so tired I'm going to do the same thing all over again the next day. I can go back to work!
It gives me great pleasure to introduce our very first guest. Please give it up for the lovely, lovely Anna Morris.
Hello.
Hello, bless you. Bless you. How are you, Anna?
I'm okay. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been haircutted. I've been chopped. That sounds so wrong.
That sounds very, very painful.
I hear from a lot of my friends. Bless you. Listen, Anna. I ask every guest this. We've gone through probably the weirdest, shittiest, craziest year ever, of which that sketch absolutely sums it all up. How has lockdown been for you?
I'll sum it up in a sound. It's been a bit like this. That would be my summary. Yeah, for me, the beginning of it was awful. I mean, like everyone, it was awful for loads of reasons, losing loads of work. I'm quite an anxious person anyway, and I have health anxiety anyway. I'm one of those people that if you say you've got something, I will think I've got it immediately. Or like I'll read one, I'll think I've got something. I'll read something in a paper and I'll go, I've got that. So that was another thing. I'm convinced everyone around me was going to die, and it was just very scary, wasn't it? Because no one knew what was going on. And then I kind of went a bit mental. I went back to my parents because I lived on my own when it all kicked off, and I just decided to go back to my parents and kind of get looked after there. And then I went a bit mad and made loads of videos, and then that kept me going just because it was something to do.
Yeah,
so
no. Lockdown was crazy. Lockdown was absolutely mental. Listen, I say this every single week, but it was I was grief stricken when it happened. As comedians, as performers, not just necessarily just comedians, but actors and so on and so forth. Any type of performer, literally, their living got wiped out just like that. Comedians and stuff usually have a year in advance and so on and so forth, and that's what we kind of work towards. We know where we're performing and playing and so on, and that literally just got taken away. You do acting as well. You have plans to do things like fringe shows and Edinburgh shows and festivals and tours and so on and so forth, and literally that all got wiped out. What are your plans? What are your plans for 2021?
Oh, well, stuff's lifting again. I've had a couple of auditions and I'm filming something tomorrow. So it's getting there. Obviously, Edinburgh's not happening, so no show there. And for me, I'm waiting to hear back on loads of things. I've spent a lot of time pitching things and waiting for things. So I don't know is the answer, because I'm just waiting for answers. And it's like, especially with TV writing, you wait and wait and wait, and then you get a possibly, can you change the entire thing? You might get a yes. Most of the time you get a no. You get used to getting no's, but obviously that's really hard. And then with the acting, you just have to wait for auditions. And then you do the audition, you just have no clue. So at the moment, I'm waiting for things. And I'm doing Brighton Fringe, of course. I'm doing my Radio 4 show on stage. And that was one thing about lockdown, actually. I had this Radio 4 show commissioned, and I was obviously going to try it out at gigs. That was the plan last year. And I was like, try it out. It was also my first ever official stand-up gig and I do character comedy. So I had only ever done character comedy shows. And then I got this commission of this Radio 4 comedy special, doing this one-off half hour. I'd never done actual stand-up as me. I'd always been a character, and normally a bitchy character. I like to play high-powered bitches, basically. And I had nowhere to try it. So I ended up recording this Radio 4 show in a studio in Brighton with an audience who were on, like, in my ear, or one ear, because we'll talk about my deafness in a minute. And they could see me on Zoom, and I couldn't see them. But people were lovely. The audience were amazing. But it was really weird doing my first. And I wrote this show on my own in a room, not knowing whether it was funny or not. It was because I couldn't try it, so it was awful. I had no idea.
Oh, bless you, love, bless you. Yeah, wait till you ever try and do a car park gig. That's the thing that will change you.
That sounds awful. Do people just beep if they like it, or do they beep to heckle? Like, how does that work? I don't understand.
Sometimes they don't even beep at all. They just sit there, and all you're looking at is just like a fleet of Range Rovers and Toyota Yaris's just staring at you.
I don't know if anyone saw, but look it up if you can, guys. Luke McQueen, who I love, who's a brilliant comedian. Yeah. When all the car park gigs happened, he did a brilliant sketch where he just went to a car park in Tesco or something, and he just basically set up a mic and just did like one of the most, on purpose, the cringiest, worst gig ever, and people were beeping him because he was getting in the way, and it's very funny. I imagine that's what it's like, but it's worth checking out. Luke McQueen, check out the car park.
Yes, no, absolutely. We've got to try and get him onto the show. I love Luke McQueen. I love Luke.
He's ridiculous. He just doesn't care.
Now, I found this out only earlier on today when we were talking, but you are actually deaf in one ear.
I am. This one doesn't work. Nothing.
Oh my gosh! How's that even affected your comedy, or has it ever affected your comedy, or made it better? Oh.
Well, I think there's two things. One is I think it made me do character comedy, because I've had it since I was born, and when I've been in noisy environments, I've had to really watch people's body language. And I think actually now everyone's wearing the masks, maybe they realise what that's like, because you can't communicate. It's hard to communicate. So I think as a young kid, I used to probably naturally watch the way people's mouths moved and the mannerisms and the whole picture, because I couldn't rely on the hearing. And then I started doing impressions of people and mimicking people. And I do think that's come from having to observe people. So I do think it's helped me do what I do. And in terms of gigs, my first few gigs were at pubs, typical sort of pub setup where there are lights coming from different places and you can see the audience. So I was in a double act, and that meant that I felt like I had someone else being my extra ear, so I wasn't so worried about the noise. But then when I started doing gigs in proper comedy clubs, when you know what it's like, you're on stage and then the lights are on you, you can't see the audience. And I freaked out, because for me, I realized I needed to see people to communicate or to hear, and it was horrible, because I can't tell where sound's coming from either. So if someone laughs or shouts something or whatever, I don't know where it is. And then you hear like people, like drinks clinking, the bar, like my ear will tune into anything annoying like that. So I started going to gigs and asking for the house lights to be on a bit, because I couldn't handle not seeing people. I needed to see them. And then my style of comedy has become very interactive. So if anyone's come to my shows, they're all character shows, but they're very interactive. I go into the audience and talk to people. And I did an entire wedding show where I created a wedding from scratch with the audience, and they were all in the wedding on the stage. I wouldn't be able to do that now, but so I think I see it as a blessing. It's annoying if someone shouts something out, and touch wood, it's mostly been nice, silly things to join in with the show. I don't know where that's coming from, and I have to ask the audience to tell me, because I'm like, what? And it's a bit weird, but yeah, I think it's been a good thing in a way.
Oh no, yeah, I think it's fascinating, the fact that, look, your senses to have to really tune into other things, and if you're picking up visual characters and so on and so forth, and you know, you're an actor, you can absorb it, turn it into something, just like all the characters that you've done. You've been on a fair few TV shows. I genuinely think that you are genuinely the most famous person I think I have ever met. This is amazing.
I'm definitely not famous. I got recognised once in Ryman's, I think, when I was buying something. I was in, she said, were you in Bad Bridesmaid? This was ages ago. I went, yeah, and then I went red and walked off. That's probably the only time I've ever been recognised, so thank you.
No, it's absolutely awesome, absolutely awesome. Well, I now, you told me this story, and I want everyone to hear this. How did you get an agent?
So I did the usual thing of inviting lots of agents to my gigs and shows, and I was working full time in an office at the time, so I was doing my little gigs in the evenings, and I was about to do my first solo Edinburgh show, and no one had replied, no one wanted to come. And then I made a month before my first Edinburgh Fringe in 2012, made some silly videos, made this character video, my Bridezilla character, and then my sister had a few glasses of wine too many, and without my knowledge sent my video to some agents. And she told me this. She came up to Edinburgh to see the show, and she said, "I've got something to tell you. I've done something really stupid." And she told me, I was furious. I was like, "That's so embarrassing." And she sent it to Troika, who were Miranda Hart's agents. And I was so embarrassed. Anyway, she said, "Oh, but they want to see you. They want to see your show. They love the video." I sent it around the office because they have a few people getting married. They thought it was really funny. To cut long story short, 2 agents came to see my show, and then they signed me. And it's insane. And then a week, got back from Edinburgh, suddenly had an agent, but I was still working full time in an office. And I got my first casting, and I literally was like, "What do I do? Where do I go?" And they said, "You've got your first casting on 1 o'clock, wherever, for Alan Partridge, the movie, small part receptionist character." And then I went along to this, I thought it was going to be sick. I went in my lunch break and didn't know. I went into the audition room and said, "Where do I look at the camera? Do I look at you?" Like, it was so embarrassing. I didn't know what to do. So it's crazy because I invited so many people to shows and no one would come. And then I just got it from my sister sending a video, which is brilliant because it's just not how you normally get one. So yeah.
No. Oh, that is amazing. I think I should have probably got your flatmate or your sisters to send my videos off to sort of agency and so on and so forth. But it is amazing. Like auditions and various business. I've been to many auditions, and I think one of the worst things about auditions for me is like when you're sitting in an audition waiting room and you're sitting there looking at 35 other people who look and sound just like you, and you're sitting there, and it's very odd. And you will go in and to see whether a casting agent kind of goes, "Yep, you're the correct balance of grey hair and brown face and white teeth for this particular role," and then you kind of get that call.
It's horrible. Like, I've had some really lovely ones, but I've had some like awful ones where I wanted to cry, and I've had one where I got recalled this big advert with good money, and I really needed the money, and I thought I did a really good job in the first casting. The first casting was great. Went in, I was all confident, paid my train fare into London, which was quite expensive. Got to the thing, as you said, room full of people all waiting, and they were calling us in pairs. And the casting director came out and he went, "Okay, guys, you're going to be here a while. We're going to be trying different pairs." And I was like, "Great, bring it on." Went in, did what I'd done in the audition with this girl. No one laughed at all. It was really embarrassing. And then I got so embarrassed that I tried to then improvise some lines. The director was just like this. And I was like, thanks so much, and left. And then I sat down going, "Well, they'll probably pull me in with someone else, so I'll get another chance." Then the casting director came out about 5 minutes later, and he pointed he went, you to me, you can go, you guys. And I was like, "What?" And it's that brutal. It's that brutal that they just like, "Get out." And then I left, and I think I cried, and then I got the train home, and I was like, oh. And you have to be very thick-skinned, and sometimes I am, and sometimes like, this is just hideous. I don't know why I've just spent like 2 hours getting into London and back and £30, and they pretty much told me to get out. So I've gone for auditions and castings that they've just asked you to do just ridiculous things. I got asked the day my first daughter was born. My agent phoned me up and said, go for this casting. You're in London. It'll take you like half an hour to go and do it. They've asked for me to go and do this thing. So I was like, all right, my daughter's right here. She's asleep. All right, I'll nip up for about half an hour, go and do this. Turned up, and I didn't know anything else about the thing. They just said, just turn up. They'll give you all the brief and everything. Fine, turned up. And they just basically just sort of gave me some lines. And I sat there and I thought, I was there with 2 others, and they were being dead straight to camera. So I thought, oh, this is like a serious role. And I don't really want this thing. I'm not an actor. So I just absolutely ripped it apart. I just improvised. I absolutely took the mickey out of it. I started pointing at the casting director. I treated it like a gig. And
I sat there and I thought, great, that I've done the audition. I can walk out of it. Walked out of it. 2 hours later, I got a phone call saying I got it, and it was a comedy role in a Bollywood film. It was mental.
That's crazy.
Well, the whole experience was absolutely crazy. Ever since then, I sat there and I thought, you know what, I'll take whatever audition that comes up, and so on and so forth. So I have huge respect for all of this, as it were. But it's lovely. It's lovely talking to you, Anna. Stick around. We've got some more fun and games. And let's bring on. I would just said Dave, but he's forgotten. So let's bring back on Vlad.
Hey, I love that video clip. It's absolutely fantastic. Can I just say that that bride character that I saw you do, an extract from that wedding show at the Perth Fringe in Australia a few years ago.
Yes.
It was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just talking about castings and auditions. My last major theatre job was several years ago at Northern Stage in Newcastle, and the director, a rather rotund guy called Alan Lydiard, and he told us this story that happened to him when he was a young actor. He did one of those auditions that still happened in those days, where you actually did the audition in the theatre, and the director was right in the middle of the stalls, and Alan went on to do his piece. And before he could get to the centre of the stage, he just heard this voice of the director shouting from the auditorium, "Too fat, next!"
Oh,
that's horrible. Oh, God.
And all the way through the rehearsals, we never let him forget that. And he'd give us notes after rehearsals, and he'd say, "Too fat, next!"
Oh, God, that needs to be in a film. That's very funny. We're awful.
But you're doing Brighton Fringe.
Yes, I am. I'm doing 3 nights, and I can't wait to just get back on stage and just talk to people. And Brighton's so lovely. Brighton audiences are so lovely. They're just so deep. I haven't done a gig in Brighton for ages, but I always love coming down there.
So what dates and where?
I'm doing the 21st. I'm doing it at the Carolina Brunswick, and the 23rd and the 24th. I can't remember. 23rd and 24th. I'm at the Quadrant. 7 o'clock. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, Brighton Fringe, as a strapline says along the bottom there, May the 28th to June the 27th. I'll be doing the 25th, 26th, and 27th at the Caroline of Brunswick.
Oh, right. I have to come and see yours. I'll be around then.
Well, brilliant. 60 Last Minutes to Save the World. It was a show I did 2 years ago called 60 Minutes to Save the World, because 2 years ago the world was fucked. And then we had a global pandemic. The world is now totally fucked. It's the premise behind that show. Listen, Anna, it's been lovely having you. And do stick around, like Jay said. We'll bring you back after we've had our next guest, who is someone who has been on this show before. And it's a joy as ever to have her back again. We're going to see a little bit of her in action. It is the marvellous Jojo Sutherland.
Married for the second time, because obviously I've got 4 kids. They can't all have the same father. You go fishing in a different gene pool because you get a bit bored, do you know what I mean? Although the gene pool's not that different. I am genuinely now married to my ex-husband's brother, but we don't have time to go into that this evening. Suffice to say, my children are cousins and I'm now Auntie Mummy. Let's move on. People don't believe me. They're like, "Are you really married to your ex-husband's brother?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Does he have another brother?" I'm like, "No." He's got a sister who looks a little bit worried when I visit. But I do think having kids is a bit like drinking. You know, when you have one too many. Oh, I should have stopped at 3. Kids, obviously, not drinks. I'm not a lightweight, but oh my God. I mean, honestly, the oldest, I like him because he's left home, but the rest of them, oh. I've got a 16-year-old daughter called Finn. I wanted a boy. Oh, I've changed her name now to Finn Larden because she needs shooting. You haven't met her, don't you? I mean, honestly, swear to God, International Women's Day, I put a picture out of the 3 of my daughters, right, at Christmas going, "Oh, isn't this lovely? My 3 daughters, International Women's Day, have a belter." She texted me and said, "I don't like that photograph, take it down." I refused. She reported me to Instagram and I got banned for bullying. Just like that, no questions asked. I mean, it is difficult being a parent. It's a difficult.
Yes, please welcome a very good friend of mine, Giorgio Sutherland.
Hello. Oh, God, it's so funny. So funny watching that because it's not that long ago. And so much has changed. My hair is much, much longer and I'm no longer married.
Of course. Yeah. Yes. That was Comedy Underground on BBC Scotland channel, which we both featured in.
We did indeed. We did indeed. I come fresh to you from voting. I have my pencil.
Your free pencil?
My free pencil that I wasn't allowed to put back and we have to take away for hazardous reasons. So lovely to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, I kept my free pencil and you know
Yeah,
what?
me too.
It stops me driving all the way to IKEA to nick one.
Yeah. Well, it's either IKEA or the bookies, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and I do think sort of whatever I voted for, everything's a bit of a gamble right now. So yeah, it's a bookies pencil. But I'm drinking now, so that's
well, me too. And it's a bit disappointing because obviously because of COVID election night, they're not actually counting the votes till tomorrow.
So there's no overnight count. I can't sit and get pissed.
No overnight count. Pandemic. But yeah, because you're the first guest I chatted to on this show who I've actually done a gig with face to face in the last week, because we were gigging together at the Edinburgh Stand on Sunday in a pre-record.
We were. We escaped out of our shackles into. I know. And then because life is semi kind of sanity, that they have opened the pubs in Scotland now, but only to drink outside. So we were able to go and have a drink outside afterwards and freeze our balls off, catch pneumonia, and get very drunk. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's great.
Yes. So how have things been, man? I know things have changed for you domestically. You now live in a house full of comedians, I believe.
Well, there's two ways of putting it, Vlad. Either a couple of comics have moved in during the pandemic and people's circumstances have changed. And so having left my husband, or my husband having been gone and my kids gone out, I said, oh, you can come and stay. So I've got two comedians staying with me. So you could say it is a comedic house share, or you could go with my daughter's description of you've turned our house into a fucking hostel. So whichever way you want to look at it. So yeah, but yes, I do have Mr. Steve Hughes, who is an incredibly fantastic comedian from Australia. And I have the wonderful Joe McTiernan, who is still relatively new to stand-up, but a brilliant actor and a fantastic sketch writer and performer. So go and check out Joe McTiernan's sketches. They're great.
He's doing some great stuff on Twitter, isn't he?
So good, really good. Just really, I mean, living with him's a fucking nightmare. Upload day, do you know what I mean? But he's, I had a flood. Just the pipe under my sink just kind of rotted, and so the kitchen was absolutely, it was just water coming everywhere. We couldn't find where the stopcock was, and there's me and Joe McTiernan and Steve Hughes running around like headless chickens. I've got Steve sort of mopping the kitchen out. I'm trying to catch the water, and Joe's mid-sketch and he's just dressed as a devil, and it's just like, what is going on? Do you know what I mean? Sort of cult comedian and devil in my kit. I'm saying, life's a little bit insane.
Wow.
It's got to be adventure. Got to make my own fun.
Well, that's the thing we do now, don't we?
Yeah,
and
totally.
I loved Anna's sketch about going back to work. Did you see that? The
so funny. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I've now and again had to travel. I did a marvel. Have you done the Comedy Cellar in Glasgow yet?
No, I haven't.
It is quite remarkable. I
did it before it was Zoom, but I did it in a past life.
Yeah, no, because they've set up this studio, which is a green box, and you see the audience projected around all three walls. So it's like a Zoom gig, but you have to be there. And so it's great, actually, getting that whole audience experience. But before I went to do it, I was kind of resenting the fact I
had to leave the house. I know, and we got to be really careful what we wish for. Do you know what I mean? Because it is that thing of just going, oh God, it's so easy just to kind of, you know, bumble out of the living room and pop on your laptop and, you know, not even be bothered to be dressed from the waist down. And, you know, and then just pop your laptop closed and, you know, switch the telly on. And it is, I mean, some of these Zoom gigs are so enjoyable, but, you know, I am literally aching to be in a comedy club with an audience packed together. So
I know. And when is, I mean, when are you at the moment? TBC, likely to be back on stage?
TBC, my first full weekend is the 27th of May, 27th, 28th and 29th of May at Hot Water in Liverpool. So, and then the following weekend, Glasgow Glee. So if the world just would have a modicum of sanity, then my diary looks fabulous until the end of the year. And I'm just, I'm excited. But if not, we'll just keep chatting on a Thursday.
Yeah, we'll just keep on doing this shit. Yeah. But yeah, I have actually quite enjoyed the fact that you can just come into a room, do your show, and then, because I did a gig for, well, you know, Breakneck Comedy in Aberdeen, and I did a corporate for them, and I was home by 9 o'clock at night because I was doing it from this.
Doing this show, I was looking at the chat earlier and stuff. You know, there's people in Melbourne, and do you know, I mean, there's people from all around the world joining in. So it's a great, you know, it does. I think, you know, we all agree that the live experience can't be replicated, but I think in moving forward, it's a good addition that people that have maybe access difficulties or, you know, small kids or can't afford to come out, that they can still enjoy a night of comedy. So yeah, it's good.
And if you have enjoyed tonight's comedy and you're watching it, then we will do the bucket speech later on.
My hair is so long now. I'm just noticing that. It's like everybody else, when everybody else got a haircut, you were talking about haircuts earlier.
You're looking very well for someone who had an 8-hour drinking session only a few days ago.
Honestly, it was quite obscene. You know, that way where you just slightly get giddy with excitement, and because I hadn't seen you, I hadn't seen Susan Morrison properly, and you know, it was freezing, but you know, the quicker you drink, that kept me warmed up. Just moving my hands a lot.
But you've actually, and you're not alone in this. You've actually got a job, a temporary job.
I so did. And again, a little bit like Zoom gigs. I completely cheated in terms of, you know, I haven't gone and got a job that is any stretch of the imagination or having to really put in much effort. I could probably touch the walls of the job that I work for. So literally opposite my house, there is a sandwich shop, and they started doing deliveries during lockdown. And so I drive. I do the delivery driving. And it's one of those things, it's something to do. It gets me out the house, but I've never done a delivery job before. So it's quite sort of novel to me. And, you know, like any new job, you have to learn things. But I'm getting slightly frustrated, and I don't know if it's because of lockdown or if these are behaviors that people displayed before lockdown. And the audience can answer me this, but I've come up with some new set of rules for my delivery job, based basically on people's behaviors. So I'm going to tell you right now, I've got 3 rules. They're very simple. 1, you cannot order a takeaway if you don't have a fucking number on your door. That's the first one. It's a very simple rule, but if you don't actually have a number on your door, you're not allowed to order a takeaway. The second one is, if you do order a takeaway, regardless of whether you have a number on your door or not, you have to answer the door. You'd be amazed the amount of people. I turn up and I knock on the door and there's no answer, and I knock on it and I ring the bell. It's like, you ordered a fucking takeaway. I'm here with your takeaway. Answer the door. So that puts me into tailspin. And the third one, I honestly, I don't know if it's a lockdown behavior, but if you order a takeaway and you do answer the door, please could you put some clothes on? There are, honestly, Paul, there are an unreasonable amount of people that answer the door in their underpants. I see a lot of cock on a daily basis. And I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's because I'm newly single, but I don't know if somebody phoned ahead and gone, here's this. Although this is the other thing that happened and did make me laugh. There's quite a few regular customers, and there's a couple who are still shielding. And the first time I delivered to them, he came out and he took his delivery and gave me £1 tip. And then whilst giving me £1 tip, went, oh, sorry, I think you're a bit too old for a tip.
Cheeky bastard.
And I think he was trying to not patronize me by giving me £1 by saying, do you know what I mean? But it just came out all wrong, and basically he insulted me and said I was too old for a tip.
When you're talking about people answering the door in their underpants, I was tempted to think of the old Chick Murray joke.
Which is?
I never knew I had a door in my underpants.
Oh, that's
not answering the door. Why can't you just do what Hermes or DPD or Amazon would do, which is leave it at the doorstep and fuck off?
Well, that's what I should do. I should just knock 3 times and leave it on the doorstep. So, but no, I treat it a bit like a gig. You know, I chat to everybody, and I'm probably very annoying, actually.
You just want the sandwich. What the fuck's this woman talking about?
Like, oh, chicken and chorizo. That's a strange combination.
But you've got, I know your family play a huge part in your material, and I'm sure when you are back, you sharing with audiences the very happy family news that you have, which involves a former guest, a previous guest of this show.
Yes, indeed. I have been informed that my one of my children, I can't remember which one, she's number 3, has announced their engagement. And to a Mr. Gareth Much, who is a fabulous comedian. But in fact, funnily enough, the Sunday where I got very, very, very drunk after the stand, I was maybe having a little light afternoon nap on Monday, when, unbeknownst to me, they'd gone to visit a wedding venue. I don't think for any other reason, just than a bit of a day out. There was an open day at a wedding venue. And so they'd gone, and when they were there, fell in love with it and booked a date, even though they weren't even engaged. They booked the wedding venue, and then immediately came round to tell me they booked the wedding venue, woke me up from my afternoon nap. Gareth came immediately over and started to sort of do this around my head. And I was like, what are you doing, Gareth? Get off me. You know, he's like, I'm measuring you for a hat. Like, you know, my initial thought was, is he about to tell me something really complimentary that my head's going to be too big for? The narcissist in me. And then he was like, we've booked a date for our wedding. And I felt really bad because I was so hungover and I was sort of half asleep, just going, oh, right. Okay, so it wasn't quite the reaction that they were hoping for. And then they put it in the family group chat, told brothers and sisters and Monk and everybody. And everyone was just like, well, if you're not engaged, it doesn't really count. Rory didn't even reply. And I think they felt a little bit deflated things. So so the next day, he then did actually propose, and they have a ring. And so now we are actually excited. So.
And when is the date?
It is the 24th of June, 2023, and me is very helpful. I said, well, that's plenty of time for her to come to her senses.
Totally, that was my immediate reaction.
Loads of time for this nonsense.
What I would have done in your position is, don't you want to have it like much quicker than that? How about next week when you can only get 20 guests?
Yes, so
if I had a daughter who was getting engaged, I'd say, it's going to be a midget. You can't wait until these restrictions to be over. That'll cost thousands of pounds.
No, I have. I've been very cheeky with him. And poor old Gareth, because he's sort of been thrown in at the deep end with our family. And I mean, because he knows me as a comedian, and we were comedy friends and colleagues. And so it's a kind of different relationship now, in as much as you're dating my daughter and I will rip your head off if you do anything untoward. So, yeah, so he's finding out a lot. He's finding out loads about me now, actually. We had a conversation during lockdown where he absolutely just, I think he's beginning to wonder if he has done the right thing in coming into our family, because we were talking about, I was talking about a time when Ailey got lost. We'd lost Ailey.
Right.
And Gareth said, yeah, when she was little. Do you know what I mean? In a way that, you know, I'm fairly sure that parents lose their kids on a regular basis. And I said, this time about I'd lost Ailey. And then Rory and Kira piped up, her brother and sister, and said, oh God, Mum, remember that time you lost us as well? Which was a separate occasion where we were getting on a bus. I thought they'd got on the bus and I hadn't. And then it turns out that they ended up at Waverley Market in the hands of police. And then promptly, because they found themselves with juice and crisps and in safety with police, did it deliberately for years on end, just got themselves lost, because they always found themselves going, oh, I'm lost. And I always terrified social services was going to get involved. But I was recounting this story to Gareth, who is to be my son-in-law. And you know, when someone is really horrified by a story, I'm like, and especially Gareth, I was like, but you're a comedian, you'll get this. But I wasn't even exaggerating for comic effect. He was like, you're just having a laugh, aren't you? You're just being stupid. And I was like, no, I genuinely lost Ailey. And he was like, you lost your geese. I can't, Dad, God, that's so irresponsible. And he was taking it really seriously. I was like, Gareth, your mum's bound to have lost you. And he was like, I am telling you right now, I'm an only child. My parents have never lost me. If I'd know about it. I'd absolutely know about it if they'd lost me. And I could see Rosemary in the background of this Zoom gig. And I was like, just shout, Rosemary, who's Gareth's mum. And he was like, Mum. He's like, have you ever lost me? And Rosemary's a sweet woman. She went, well, there was this one time.
Well, I can say I have lost 3 kids that I know of. Jojo, it's been a joy. Do stick around. We have come to the final part of the show, but let's hear it one more time for the marvelous Jojo Sutherland. And let's welcome back Anna and Jay.
Yes, there we are.
Yay, I've got my mind now.
Here's Anna.
Here's Jojo.
I have lost my kids.
I think every parent, I think every parent's lost a child. I mean, even if it's for a brief second, you know, there's that sort of heart in the mouth moment. But but it was the fact that my children then took it on as a part-time job to get themselves lost, you know, because they knew they'd end up sweeties.
Well, regular viewers of this show will remember New Year's Eve, where Jay's children thought they'd lost him.
Yes. I was on that show when we got married.
That show.
I vaguely remember. remember.
Everyone got very drunk on New Year's Eve on the show, and the idea was to get as pissed as possible. But Jay took it too seriously. I drank 2 bottles of wine before the show even started.
Oh, yeah, I'd be dead if I did that.
Well, we thought he was too. He disappeared. He fell off his chair. Back to the serious matter in hand. We were making this a politics special, and that's gone out the window very early on. This next part of the show, it is an interactive quiz with you, our 2 fantastic guests. And what we've done is we've found some obscure policies that some bonkers candidates have come up with, and it's up to you to guess which they are. I'm going to present some. Jay's going to present some. Dave Chawner was nice enough to send in some questions.
Good boy.
Thank you, Jay. Dave. And if you can guess who these policies belong to, you win fuck all. But anyway,
oh, brilliant.
My 3 first, and if you get these right, you will hear this tone. There you go.
Are these main parties?
Oh, some of them might be main parties, some of them might be obscure parties.
Okay.
First one up. And it could be in the Scottish Parliament, could be in the Northern Ireland Assembly, could be the Welsh Senate. Right. Who will repeal the Hate Crime Act? It's a policy. They say if they are elected, they will repeal. They won't get elected, but if they are elected, they will repeal.
Scottish Libertarian.
Very close. Very, very close, but not close enough.
Oh, that stupid family party.
No, not them either. It's UKIP. Yes. UKIP.
Really? Wow.
Two policies for the Scottish Parliament. One is to repeal the Hate Crime Act, and the second one, they're asking you to vote for them in the Scottish Parliament to abolish the Scottish Parliament. There you go, that'll work. Right. Bonkers politician wants tougher enforcement against what he calls gypsy travellers. Breaking up travellers' camps and having tougher enforcement against gypsy travellers.
I'm thinking probably a Conservative would say that.
Well done. Yes.
Is it the Tories? It can't be.
It is.
Reform UK.
It is the leader of the Scottish Conservative Party and Rangers supporting referee, who's Boris Johnson, can't remember his name, Douglas Ross. When questioned what he would do if he was ever elected First Minister, he said, the first thing I would do is break up travellers' camps and have stricter laws against what he called gypsy travellers. There you go.
Oh.
I love that's the first thing he'd do. There's quite a lot of other things.
I know what you mean. What comes after that? I think that's right. Third one. He will put women front and centre of decision making.
I know this. Please, miss, please,
yes.
miss. Please, miss. Please, miss.
Yes, yes.
It's that bloody Alba party, is it?
It is. Well done. Yes. Alex Salmond will put women front and centre of decision making, very much like they were front and centre of his court case last year. There we go. Right. On to Joe, who's going to have some policies for the London mayoral election, I believe.
Yes, because it's not just about Scotland. Don't forget us London, us Southerners, and so on and so forth. So we've got three policies, and I want you to figure out who actually wants these things. So the first one is a genuine pledge to shut down any McDonald's with a broken McFlurry machine and renovate it into low-rent housing. Which one of the London mayoral candidates pledged?
It's got to be bin face, isn't it?
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Anna, what do you say?
It's got to be a loony. It's got to be a loony one.
Yeah, it seems loony. It seems quite Green Party as well. Quite nice. It does seem quite loony. It does seem. The low red house, the rest is the McDonald's is a bit loopy, isn't it? Really.
I will tell you what it is. It is the party called the Nico Defence League. And Nico Omilani, I think it is a 23-year-old YouTuber who has no experience of politics and figured that's the thing that would get him elected. That's
his banner headline. That's his banner. Elect me, I'll save the world. Wow.
It's on a bus. It's on a bus right now. It's right now.
Wow. Brilliant.
All those McFlurries add up to 350 million quid a week. We can put into the NHS. There you go. So let's move on to our next one. Now, a pledge to ban Prince Andrew from going within a 4-mile radius of any school.
Wow.
Who would say something like that? I'll give you a clue. It's not Prince Andrew.
Right. Princess Eugenie.
The Queen. Yeah.
The ghost of Prince Philip.
No, it's a mayoral candidate. It's a London mayor candidate.
I only know I know Bin Face, I know Lawrence Fox.
I don't know enough of them, no.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lawrence Fox.
I was just thinking Lawrence Fox could be one.
The thing is if Lawrence Fox did, that would be too woke for him, even.
Yeah,
That's true. No, it would be
just like,
yeah, he'd probably go. He would ban Prince Andrew from going any further than a 4-mile radius.
It'd encourage him. It'd probably encourage him. There you go. That'd piss him off.
Job as a teacher now that you've lost your job as a prince.
It is again the Nico Defence League. This is his second pledge.
I'm beginning to like Nico.
I'm beginning to like him.
London 20 years ago.
Right, our final one. So here we go. Yes, this is a genuine London Mail candidate pledge. I have no chance of winning, but there has always been a posh bloke on the ballot.
That's great.
Now that's a genuine pledge. He's put money down for this, and he's already said that he's not going to win it.
Prince Andrew.
Close. He's posh.
Oh, is he aristocratic posh? Like you're just pot? Oh.
He went to private school. I'll tell you who it is. It's a guy called Max Flosh, right? You can Google this guy. Max Flosh, right? He basically went to private school and he put down 50 quid to actually put his name into the hat and got tons of publicity out of it. His only pledge is he's not going to win, and if he wins, he has no idea what he's going to do. But the only reason why he's doing it is to piss off Lawrence Fox. That's the only reason he's doing it.
Do you know how fucking fucked up crazy the world is right now? He'll win.
He'll win.
Yeah.
Also,
it sounds a bit like Trump.
Yeah.
When he was going to run originally, going just I don't think he ever expected to win. It does feel like that could actually happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Brexit, isn't it? Nobody really happy.
It wouldn't be the first time someone stood as a candidate for Mayor of London, been elected, and not had a fucking clue what to do. 2008 spring to mind, anyone?
Oh, BJ on his early fucking years, Jesus.
Let's go on to our very, very, very final one. So let's do this.
These are all the same person. They all look quite sensible. Want to join the EU?
London Bridge to be renamed after Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Spanish Bears got Corbyn to the Phantom Zone. Who is that, do you think?
It sounds like Boris Johnson's running for mayor again.
No, we're going to say it is Count Binface.
It is Binface. Oh.
Binface. Both Binface.
Stick near your tellies on Saturday to see Binface elected Mayor of London. Crazier things that happened.
Cool.
Too funny.
We have one more final game. And I'm looking forward to this one. So, this is if you were elected officials, both of you, both Anna and Jojo, what would be your vote for me? What would be your pledges? And then both me and the lovely Vladimir McTavish will sit here and vote. And whoever wins, wins.
Jojo, would you like to go first?
I'll go first, Anna. I would, if I was elected, give every woman in the country a penis and see what they did with it.
Now, one question I would ask is, whose penis would it be? I hope it's not mine.
Oh, actually, very quickly, very quickly, back to Gareth Much, my son-in-law to be, fellow comedian. It was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, and he bought me a very lovely present, and it arrived from Amazon in a box, and I opened it in front of everybody. And as I opened it, and I literally opened it like this, going, "What the fuck have you bought me, Gareth?" And I was just like, and honestly, it's a back massager. But the way I took it out of the box was a very different prospect. Although it does vibrate, so it might be multifunctional. I don't know. I have to say
I'm going to say my wife, Christine's got a handheld vacuum cleaner that looks exactly like that. Or she's told me that. Well, she's told me that's what it is.
What I might do is just give every woman one of these and see what they do with it.
Brilliant. Now let's move on to your opposing candidate. Let's give it up for Anna Morris.
Well, I want to vote for Jojo now. Mine's very animal based because I got a kitten over lockdown. This, believe it or not, behind me is he's massive. He's a ragdoll. So mine would be paternity and meownity leave for parents of puppies and kittens. So they're allowed to be off work for 2-3 weeks to look after them, because he needed a lot of looking after. He was very clingy. He also kept attacking my head and shitting in the bath. So I think you do need to have paternity and more meownity leave. And compassionate leave if your pet dies. I think that should be a thing, because you don't get that as compassionate leave unless a person dies, but animals are more important. I want all women to have, who've ever bought sanitary towels or tampons, to have the VAT back for their lifetime of whatever they've spent, and then just have it free from now on. I want a cardigan tax, because I don't like cardigans. I've got a phobia of buttons, so tax on cardigans. I want a tax for London, because people have to pay about £7 million to live there. And make euthanasia legal. There you go.
But not for cats. You're not allowed euthanasia for cats, though.
No, not for animals.
Not for animals.
No, not for animals, because you have to pay for that.
Yeah.
Be a fucking vet, ridiculous amount of money. I know.
Don't get me started. You know, my cat's been cheating on me with the neighbour.
Well, it's a tough choice. I unfortunately accidentally spoilt my ballot paper with my 3 pencils. I'd vote for you both. I'd vote for you both.
We could be a coalition.
We could be a coalition. Yeah. I was totally on board with your policies, Anna. 100%.
No, Jojo, we could be a Jojo-alition.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, because actually my name is Joanna, so we could be the Joanna party.
Oh my God, this should happen. We've made history here. Something's going to come out of this, I'm sure.
Yeah. And if only politicians could do that. Wouldn't that be radical, that we could all work together for the common good of other people? I know, it's crazy.
And if you were the Joanna party, your first policy should be a free piano for every house.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. I have to spoil my ballot paper too. Donald Trump can call this a rigged election or whatever, but I will vote for both of you.
The Joanna party's born.
The Joanna party is born. Absolutely.
Listen, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I must say, Jay, this has been the best show we've had, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And I wonder why that is. I wonder who's not here to ruin the show this week.
I think Dave Chawner just got sacked.
This is the plugging section. This is the plugging section. Let's start off with the wonderful Anna. What would you like to plug?
I've got my Radio 4 comedy special, Kid Life Crisis, which is available on BBC Sound. And I've got my Brighton Fringe show coming up 21st, 23rd and 24th, I think. And that's a live version of Kid Life Crisis, the longer, uncut version, in front of people, not just in a studio. So that's mine.
No, that is awesome. Do check that out. And the lovely Jojo, what would you go?
I do a podcast with 2 other fabulous comics who are also mothers, but at different stages. So Jay Lafferty is at the early stages of parenting, and Crystal Evans is in the middle part, and I'm at the end. So it's a parenting podcast from beginning to end. I'm the happiest because I've got rid of mine. So it's called How the Mother Half Lives. And it's on wherever you get your podcasts. It's on Apple and Spotify and everywhere. So please, and we got fantastic guests every week. So yeah, it's good fun.
Lovely.
Listen, everyone at home, thanks a lot for watching. And let's shamelessly plug our own selves here if you want to support the show and the performers. Yeah, this is the way we get paid for this is paypal.me /free festival online. It has been an absolute joy. Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you
very much, Jojo. It really was fun. All the best. And well, that's it. We'll be back next week, won't we, Jay? We will be. And Dave, I don't know. You might remember. Banquo's ghost might be at the feast as well. Who knows? It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Bye.